Welcome to Earlsdale Retreat, a fishery and glamping project focusing on sustainability and natural building techniques. As I build the channel, I hope to have vlogs showing all the various projects that I'll be working on, which are described in a previous video titled Introduction to Eco-glamping and Off-Grid Fishery. I'll include a link to this video above, and if you find the ideas of these projects as exciting as I do, please subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified of future videos. This video is from the series Birth of a Fishery, where I focus on the trials and tribulations and trying to open the fishery for pleasure angling. As you can see from the footage, it's a beautiful location, but the pools are not in the best condition. Previous videos have touched on the problems that I face, such as the dense overgrowth with invasive rhododendrons, preventing natural air diffusion, the blanket duckweed that proliferates both pools, and how this is creating eutrophic conditions. However, I wanted to do a more focused video series, showing exactly what this means, and what I have to do on a daily basis to build up a picture of exactly what's going on, and the experts that I have to reach out to help establish a management plan to undo some of the damage. It's likely this will span several videos, so I apologise in advance for the level of detail, which many, including my long-suffering partner, will find incredibly boring. But for the few that do enjoy some technical detail, enjoy. In this first video, I wanted to show how I go about measuring the single most important indicator of water quality, that is dissolved oxygen, often just referred to as DO. With the equipment in place, I will take a water sample and then continue to bore you while setting the meter up in the background. Using the handy plastic container that comes with the meter, I will carefully take a sample of water from a number of locations around the pool. Each time I take a reading, I will use the same locations so I can see changes that occur over time, as temperature changes or over the course of a day due to the effect of sunlight and photosynthesis. Whilst the probe gets ready, I'll quickly mention that I'm using Hanna Instruments HI 98193. This meter measures dissolved oxygen in milligrams per litre or percentage saturation and captures the water temperature, but it also has some other nifty functions that measures the biological oxygen demand, which is the amount of oxygen consumed by bacteria and other microorganisms while they decompose organic matter. It also has some other capabilities that I still haven't got my head around. Let me explain a little about dissolved oxygen. All organisms require oxygen to survive, including fish. Fish breathe oxygen just like land animals do, but in their case, the oxygen gas is dissolved in water, and they absorb this into their bloodstream through gills, as opposed to you or I, who use lungs to absorb oxygen from the atmosphere. In this way, I liken the water to our lungs, and it's critical to make sure the lungs can absorb as much oxygen as possible. The level of oxygen dissolved into water is very small. Around 5 milligrams per litre is recommended for optimum fish health. However, some species require more oxygen than others. Trout, for example, enjoy high concentrations of oxygen, usually in the region of 9 milligrams per litre. They'd be okay if oxygen dips below 6 milligrams per litre for a short period, but they would become stressed if oxygen continued to plummet in the region of 3 to 5 milligrams per litre. This will put them off their feed, could lead to increased likelihood of contracting disease, or cause premature death. Anything below 3 milligrams per litre will be lethal for trout. At the other end of the scale, carp and tench could be more tolerant of low DO. Although levels should ideally be above 5 milligrams per litre, they can tolerate levels below 2 milligrams per litre and even survive at levels below 1 mg per litre. Now, Earlsdale Fishery was previously ran as a trout fishery, and it is spring fed, so I was hopeful that DO would be high, even with the prolific weed growth and potentially eutrophic conditions. If you bear with me, I'll explain eutrophication in one of my other videos, but right now the meter's ready, so let's see what results I get. To start with, I need to calibrate the meter, which I tend to do every week. The most accurate is to do a 2-point calibration, first using 0 oxygen solution and then 100% air saturation. For this example, I just use a single point 100% air saturation calibration. The meter recognises when it has a steady reading, and when I accept the calibration point, it's ready to take the first reading. The probe is then placed in the sample beaker, and I set the meter to end when it achieves a steady reading. Because the probe removes oxygen from the water in order to take a measurement, I'll agitate the water by stirring the probe in a circular fashion. You can see here that I have the meter set to milligrams per litre, and already we're getting very low figures. All species of fish might be stressed off their feed, and fish with low tolerance could be visiting the big pool in the sky very shortly. Any trout remaining in the pool would certainly be dead right now, with readings below 3 milligrams per litre, and still the meter's dropping, which is very concerning. Finally, it levels out at 2.1 milligrams per litre at 19.1 degrees C. The temperature is quite important because water can absorb more oxygen at lower temperatures. This is why readings are often taken for both milligrams per litre and percentage saturation. Another advantage of the ANA Instruments meter is that you can log the results onto devices' memory and then download them onto free software. I don't tend to use this. I like to use scraps of paper, which I can then later lose. After logging the result, I switch the mode to percentage saturation, and you can see the absorption is only 23%. I will have to ponder this for a while, take further readings, measure some other water parameters, and build up a picture of what's going on. I'll contact the Environment Agency and hopefully they could give me some advice. If not, I'll reach out to a fishery consultant that I've used in the past to see if he can help. So subscribe to see future updates and find out what's going on and to see how I get on. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.